Peter Gabriel is just one of the best when it comes to writing catchy yet legit sounding music, don't you think? Hello there, girls and boys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be reacting to one of my favorite musicians, and I know that I am quite used to say that in this very channel, but the whole point of these reactions is to share with you some of the things that I have learned from some of my favorite musicians ever. And in this case, we are gonna be discussing Peter Gabriel's newest release in the form of I.O. from the album I.O., by the way. But we're taking on the Bright Side mix. What does that stand for? Allegedly, this being a double album, you got one side of the album, the first CD, being the Bright Side mix, which has a particular sound to it. It has slight variations in arrangement when compared to the Dark Side, which is a darker sounding and different in general sound when it comes to compared to the other guy. How much of a difference there is? Don't know yet because I am still getting used to the album itself. More on that on a review later on of the full thing. So with that being said, let's get into it. But before we go, if this is the first time on the channel, I welcome you, because here we react to the music that we love from the perspective of an active musician and professional music producer, using language that anybody can understand as a way to expand their knowledge when it comes to music production and songwriting. So if that's your jam, let's rock! So here we go, girls and boys, I.O. by Peter Gabriel.
I'm just a part of everything. I stand on two legs and I learn to sing. It's not what was said and it's not what I heard. I walk with my dog and I whistle with the bird. Stuff coming out, stuff going in. I'm just a part of everything. Stuff coming out, stuff going in. I'm just a part of everything. So we think we really live apart, 'cause we got two legs, a brain and a heart. We all belong to everything, to the octopus suckers and the buzzard's wing, to the elephant's trunk and the buzzing bee's sting. Stuff coming out, stuff going in. I'm just a part of everything. I'm just a part of everything.
So cool, right? That took me totally by surprise when I listened to this album for the first time, girls and boys. As I stated during the introduction of this video, I am a huge Peter Gabriel fan. I am a huge prog rocker fan, so I love Genesis, of course. And this track, I'm not gonna say it's far from sounding like Genesis, okay? So before you even begin to think of me as a heretic, no, that's not the case, girls and boys. What I'm about to say is that even though Peter Gabriel's career, when he went solo, went closer to what pop music is or sounds like when compared to his stuff with Genesis, this track has plenty of prog rock elements. You saw during that section when the music went up in energy, during the part that I would like to call like the chorus of the song. You got a very beautifully crafted and actually well placed time signature change, allowing the song to have that kind of little accent that made the whole thing way more interesting and fun to listen to. Now, speaking of fun, this track has this hopeful kind of vibe, don't you think? I love how the introduction began with that beautiful piano piece, followed by Peter Gabriel's vocals, which I gotta tell you, I am quite impressed that he's still sounding like Peter Gabriel all of these years after he began his career as a musician. His vocal style is still quite present, and it's quite easy to detect, and it's one of the things that makes him so special. Also, I can imagine this being one of the highlights during the live performances because of how energetic the track develops, how energetic the track is, and how much momentum it develops. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say. So now, when it comes to the sound of the instrumentation, it's excellent. I couldn't be expecting something less of him. Uh, you can see that the sound of the piano is beautiful, pristine, quite well spaced across the stereo spectrum. More on that once we hit the analyzer once again. But we also got a very beautiful take on the way his vocals are projected to us. It has this, of course, it's going to have a little bit of reverb, which is this effect that we use to create the space or the idea of a space through artificial methods. And it sounds like this, reverb. Okay, that's the fact. And you can see that his vocals are quite surrounded by that effect, but it's not overbearingly in your face. So tasteful. Sometimes it can be overdone to create a great like a larger than life sound, and in this mix it wouldn't fit because at least during that section of the first verse, you can hear that the whole thing is a little bit more personal, more touching in that regard. Once the song goes bananas and full on ballistics during the chorus, we have a totally different approach to the effect, and I'm gonna give you once again the example. This could be something similar to what they did during the chorus. Reverb. Larger, right? It feels like he's now inside of a cathedral. Excellent. And that's a clever way to use a particular effect. It's the same thing, just set in using different parameters at different points across the song, giving you a different result. Also, the sound of the snare and the sound of the drum kit in general is excellent. Please tell me the name of the drummer in this record because he's killing it. So good, the tone is insane. Let's come back to the music because there are plenty of many more things that I would like to share with you. And that will be discussed during the mix analysis section of this video. Here we go.
I learn like a baby, I learn like a seed. Spread out my tubers wherever I need. I find any way to attach and connect, and I run like water, no cause or effect. I got stuff coming out, stuff going in. I'm just a part of everything. Stuff coming out, stuff going in. I'm just a part of everything. When the panting is over and the warmth has run out, love will be flowing, I have no doubt. With the vehicle in neutral and the ground to be faced, I'll be all laid to rest in my proper place. Into the roots of an old oak tree, where life can move freely in and out of me. With stuff coming out and stuff going in, I'm just a part of everything.
I have to stop the track here because otherwise we can get flagged by YouTube. But this is a good moment for me to stop this song so we can take a look at the analyzer and see the mix from a different perspective. Here we go. Over here, girls and boys, you have been looking at the fantastic tool that is Decibel by Process Audio, which is basically speaking allowing us to have a visual representation of the music that we're listening to through the use of this device. We have two different meters here. We got the frequency range meter that is going to be the first one that they're going to be analyzing. Over here, we got the lowest point that we can hear, 20, and the highest point that we can hear as human beings, 20,000 hertz. The white line represents the highest point in volume of the frequencies represented on the graph. And you can see that this is a very bass-driven song. The vast majority of the information contained of this, or that is part of this mix, is contained in the lower range of our register. And I am kind of not surprised at all because this is a modern mix. But one of the things that is surprising to me is that even though this is super recent, I think this was released late 2023, we got plenty of the modern sensitivities, such as the bombastic, super pronounced, and really well defined low end. Yet the mix sounds, how can I put it, like organic, don't you think? It could be just me, but it has this vibe, this kind of more real to life sound that is not that common anymore in modern rock music production. The drums, in particular, feel super organic, yet super punchy, super well defined, and the integration of all of the instrumentation feels like it's there. Don't know. It might be just me, but I think it's once again Peter Gabriel's high pedigree when it comes to music production. He's really good at it. I gotta tell you that he's one of the reasons why I'm such a fan of him is because he's really clever when it comes to producing music. He knows what he's doing, and it really shows. Coming back to the analyzer, you can see that we got not that much of high end, even high mids. And well, it makes sense because the composition of the track at this stage hasn't involved any form of heavily distorted electric guitars. And that's the kind of instrumentation that tends to have to be presented over this area of our analyzer. Also, our vocals, Peter Gabriel is not a high-pitched vocalist, so we had some of his chops over here. It's important to be aware of this, girls and boys, because sometimes we can be fooled by looking at a chart like this and into thinking that it's super dark in sound. What do I mean by that? And actually, it's quite fitting because this album is released as a double album, if I stand correct. And what we're listening to right now, it's the first album, which is known as the Bright Side Mix. And I haven't listened to both of them for long enough to tell the exact differences, but you can tell them right away. There are several, but I cannot be that pinpointy at this stage. But I can tell you that the Bright Side, it's slightly more hyped on the higher end, slightly, just by minute details, than the Dark Side, the second album or the second record that makes this album, which is comprised of the same songs, just with a slightly different arrangement and a very different mix, giving you the sense of actually listening to totally different productions. And in this one, we don't have that much information, even though this is the Bright Side. And I say bright, once again, a little bit of terminology for you, girls and boys. When you refer to a sound to be bright, more often than not, you are trying to say that it's kind of high-endy. When it's dark, it's not that bright. Of course, it's not that bright, but it's lacking on high-end. That's what it stands for. I assume that was the mentality behind the naming conventions of this double album. So there you got it. Now, I want to take you over this section because this is, if you know me, what I consider to be the most important element of music. And in here, in this particular song, we got a gigantic, super impressive showcase of what this analyzer is meant to do and why it's so important. These, girls and boys, for those of you who don't know what you're looking at, this blue blob, it's representing or telling us how loud the song has been throughout time at any given point. And that's called dynamic range, which stands for the correlation between the differences in sound in volume between different sections of the song throughout time, as I stated before. This is important because the louder a section gets, the more exciting it becomes and the more enjoyment we get out of it. The quieter a song becomes or a sound becomes, the more introspective, the more personal, the more intimate it feels and it's understood by our human brains to be. So in this song, we got a magnificent display of this very principle. This is the first verse. This is the introduction of the song. And you can tell that we got this introduction by the piano alone being super mellow, super low in volume. And here's when Peter Gabriel's vocals kicks in. And you can see that the song is progressively speaking, getting louder and louder. But here is when the first bombastic section of the song took place. It was preceded by the introduction of the drums. That's why you see this bump in volume. But then when the chorus hit, the volume went berserk all the way to the roof. That's why the song hits you so hard when that section takes place. And look how much it falls once it comes back to the next verse, introduces to the next verse. Even though we're already super, super hyped by the increment in volume of the chorus, we got this section here, which is the second verse, and it's not gonna go as quiet as the beginning of the track. Why? Very important, especially for those of you who are mixers yourself. Once you set a kind of like a cruise speed when it comes to volume, if you go way too low once after a section, now your audience is gonna notice it. It's gonna be quite clear that you are playing tricks on them. What they did in here, they pushed the fader, the master fader, the volume high enough for the chorus to hit you hard, but then backed it off just enough for the song to preserve the consistency in volume. Extremely clever. Now we're gonna come back to listening to the song because I stopped it right where the next big chorus kicks in. So pay attention on how much this guy over here is gonna blow up. Here we go. How cool was that? Peter Gabriel is just one of the best when it comes to writing catchy yet legit sounding music, don't you think? I might be wrong, well, I don't think I'm wrong, but I would like to hear your opinion regarding that, but he's one of the best nonetheless. Then let me show you the screen because this is exactly what I was trying to explain to you. This is the final chorus, girls and boys, and you can see that it once again went bananas in volume. And let me just take you to the beginning of the track. Here's where you can see the first chorus when the song went as loud as this final section. And you can see that both of them are extremely similar in volume. And that's exactly the point, because you could hear that this final section was even more impressive in sound, in scope, because you also got the added choir, which was excellent. I love the use of the extra vocals and how they helped the arrangement to feel even more, how can I put it, godlike, like holy, like you are like sacred. I don't know, you get me, like kind of like a religious thing. So well placed, so well crafted. Also, the use of the stereo field is once again amazing. You can feel that you got elements on the right, on the left, and everything in between, keeping you quite invested in what you're hearing. And once again, the whole point of being a good music producer, or what makes a good music producer in the first place, is being able to convey an emotion through the use of those techniques and tricks. Because when you are able to tell what the mixer and the producer are doing, the song and the production itself is not working, because it's depriving the attention, or it's getting the attention of the audience rather than the music being the main point of attention. Does that make sense? The music should mean something, emotionally speaking, and in this case, we got a fantastic presentation of that particular concept. Now, girls and boys, please tell me what do you think about Peter Gabriel's new effort, and what do you think about one of the heroes of past ages still being relevant and still being one of the driving forces behind modern music? Is that a good or bad thing? That's up for debate, so tell me what you think about it. Now, girls and boys, if you like to support this kind of content, the best way to do it is by listening to music on Apple Music or Spotify, and also by following us on Instagram and Twitter, well, also known as X, if you want to get in touch with us in a much more personal basis. Now, girls and boys, as every single time that I meet you, there's only one thing left to be said, which is never let anybody tell you what to dream about, and remember that I'll see you when I see you.